My ex let his new girlfriend abuse our daughter, then blamed me for ruining the family. Now he wants a second chance at fatherhood. I, 23F, have a 6-year-old daughter. I had her at 17 years old with my ex-husband, Devin. Devin and I got married at 18 and got divorced at 20 years old due to his cheating. He doesn't pay a dime to financially support our daughter. I am our daughter's full-time caretaker. My ex-husband only sees our daughter once a month. I beg him to spend more time with her, but I shouldn't have to beg him to be a father. He recently got into a relationship with his new girlfriend, Haley. Ever since Haley entered my ex-husband's life, she bashed me. She blamed me for my daughter being autistic. She said my daughter is autistic because I coddle her. I do not coddle my child. I legitimately try my best with the situation I was dealt. My daughter was diagnosed with autism at 4 years of age. We have her in speech therapy and behavioral therapy. She has a therapist she sees twice a week. She also has developmental delays. I try to work with her every day on her speech, behavior, etc. Yesterday, my daughter went to go stay the night at her dad's house. Her dad's girlfriend, Haley, was there. She lives there now. My daughter's father called me. He told me to come over and pick up our child because she was upset. I went to go pick her up, and I saw she had red marks, welts, and bruises all over her legs. I was pissed and asked what happened. My daughter told me that she spilled water on the floor and on the couch. Haley got mad at her and hit her with a belt. I rushed into the house, and I don't know what came over me. I punched Haley in the face and beat the shit out of her. I didn't even realize I did it until I saw her on the floor. Haley wanted to press charges on me, but my ex talked her out of it. I went to the police station with my daughter right after and filed a police report. I showed them the bruises, welts, and marks. I pressed charges for child abuse, and I reported my husband to CPS for child neglect and abuse. I am still shaken up from the situation. I took photos of my daughter's legs and arms. I will never let my daughter go over to her dad's ever again. I beat myself up over this. If I knew that Haley would hit my child, I wouldn't have let her go over there in the first place. Ada. Update 1. It's been a few days, and I thought things would start to calm down, but they've only gotten more complicated. After everything happened with Haley, I was ready to completely cut Devin out of my daughter's life. I mean, how could I not? He let his girlfriend physically hurt our little girl, didn't do anything about it when it happened, and then had the nerve to call me to come pick her up because she was upset. Upset? She was bruised and had welts from a belt. So as you can imagine, I thought we were officially done with any casual or civil co-parenting, and I felt like I had no choice but to involve the police and CPS. I figured maybe then he'd finally understand what it means to actually be a responsible father. But of course, Devin's view of reality is a bit twisted. Yesterday, I got a text from him, completely out of the blue, saying he wanted to talk things over. Apparently, he's hoping we can smooth things out so he can see his daughter soon. I couldn't even believe what I was reading. It was like he expected me to just move on like nothing happened. I told him he'd need to follow any restrictions CPS set if he ever wanted to see her again, and that's only if they even allow him to. He threw a fit, saying I was blowing things out of proportion and that I just love stirring up drama. I couldn't believe it. My whole focus has been protecting our daughter, and here he is acting like I'm the one at fault. It's unreal. But here's where it gets worse. After a bunch of back and forth arguing, he said he thought I was too emotional to make rational decisions and suggested that we go to family counseling so a therapist could help me see things clearly. Like, seriously? First, he calls me to clean up his mess, lets Haley hurt our daughter, and now he thinks I'm the problem. I flat out told him counseling wouldn't be happening unless he and Haley went separately for what they did. I even said if he wanted to show he was serious, he could start with anger management, maybe even parenting classes. Of course, he immediately started backtracking, saying that I'm the one trying to make him jump through hoops. But here's the thing. If he thinks being a father means treating me like the problem every time I hold him accountable, he's got another thing coming. What really messes with my head, though, is that he's still with Haley. Not only did she hurt our child, but she's also the reason my daughter was crying and upset in the first place. Any halfway decent parent would have ended things right there. Instead, he's sticking by her and trying to guilt me for pressing charges, saying I'm poisoning the family and trying to turn his own daughter against him. He's refusing to see that if he keeps this up, he's doing that all on his own. I even told him I had photos, that CPS was involved, that there's now an official police report, and he still keeps acting like I'm overreacting. Then, just when I thought I'd heard the worst of it, he threw in a little twist. He said Haley has been dealing with some issues and that she doesn't handle stress well. His whole angle now is that she's apparently having mental health problems. And according to him, it's not fair of me to judge her too harshly. He tried to make it sound like Haley's the real victim here, saying she didn't know how to cope, and that's why she lashed out. He also hinted that if I had more empathy, I'd be willing to give her another chance. He seriously expected me to be sympathetic to the woman who left welts and bruises on my 6-year-old child. I don't care what issues she's going through. The second she hurt my daughter, any sympathy I could have felt for her was out the window. I can't believe he's more worried about Haley's well-being than our daughter's safety. But it gets even weirder. Right as I was about to hang up on him, he changed his tune and said Haley was getting help and that she wants to apologize to me. He actually suggested that Haley and I should meet up so she can explain herself. It's like he thinks an apology is going to erase everything. The fact that he'd even think I'd be okay with sitting down with her shows just how clueless he is about the damage that's been done. I told him that there's no chance I'm meeting her, and if he's even considering staying with her, he can forget about seeing our daughter outside of a supervised environment. I thought he'd get angry, but instead, he started going on about how he's been rethinking everything and wants to make changes. He claims he's realized that he hasn't been the best dad and wants to start being there more for our daughter. He actually tried to guilt-trip me into letting him see her by saying it's not fair for me to keep her from him. So I told him straight up, fairness went out the window when he let his girlfriend abuse our child and then had the nerve to defend her. But then he dropped another bombshell. He hinted that Haley might be pregnant. I didn't even know what to say to that. Here he is talking about this whole new start for his family, and meanwhile, he's dragging our daughter through chaos she never asked for. He seems to think this baby is going to magically fix everything, but I'm not buying it. If anything, it's just going to make things worse, especially if Haley's the one bringing the drama. He says he wants to be more involved now that he sees things clearly, but I honestly feel like he's just using the baby as an excuse to act like a hero. I told him he could go ahead and try to fix whatever family he's trying to build, but our daughter's life is staying separate from all of it. If he truly cares about being in her life, he'll need to prove he's committed to real change, not just by saying it, but by showing it. I told him we could discuss supervised visits if he's serious about working with CPS, but as far as I'm concerned, that's the only option on the table right now. He didn't like that, of course, but I'm done caring about his feelings. My priority is my daughter and her well-being, and that's not going to change, no matter how many fake apologies or guilt trips he throws my way. So here we are. Devin's off dealing with his issues with Haley, talking about making a new family while trying to convince me to trust him again. I'm not falling for it, and I'm certainly not letting my daughter be around someone who thinks apologies fix everything. Update 2. All right, so this will, hopefully, be my last update on all of this. I wish I could say things took a turn for the better, but Devin's recent behavior just keeps proving me right. After our last conversation, I decided to focus on setting strict boundaries for my daughter's safety. I'd made it clear to him, if he wanted any involvement in her life, it had to be through supervised visits, and with the full cooperation of CPS. I even outlined that he needed to show up consistently and take some kind of accountability. CPS had a plan in place, and honestly, I thought that would be enough to make him step up. Turns out I was wrong. Since that last argument, Devin only bothered to text once. He tried to act like everything was back to normal, telling me he's ready to see his daughter and promising he's cut ties with Haley. But I had my doubts. Devin's pattern is all too familiar. He gets all talk, no action, especially when it's convenient for him. I told him that if he was serious, he needed to follow up with CPS and complete the requirements they'd given him, which included parenting classes and a psychological evaluation. But he immediately started backtracking, saying he doesn't need some agency to tell him how to be a father. He tried to convince me that he's already a changed man and just wants me to trust him on this. At this point, it's beyond frustrating. I told him I wasn't going to risk my daughter's safety based on his empty promises. If he truly wanted to prove he'd changed, he'd need to go through the official channels and actually put in the effort. I thought that might be the last of it, But then, of course, I hear from mutual friends that Devin's back with Haley. So much for cutting ties. Apparently, Haley's now publicly talking about their fresh start and even making it sound like my daughter's going to be part of it. She's been posting all over social media, acting like she's some kind of bonus mom, sharing pictures of them decorating a nursery for the new baby. It's like she's trying to rewrite history, pretending that her assault on my daughter never happened. I felt sick to my stomach. I confronted Devin and demanded to know what was going on. He went straight into defensive mode, claiming I was overreacting and that he's trying to build a life for all his kids. He had the nerve to tell me that my daughter should have the chance to know her sibling and that I was being selfish for standing in the way of family unity. I just couldn't believe it. Here's a man who can barely manage one weekend a month with our daughter, and now he's pretending to be some kind of family man. I told him, in no uncertain terms, that there was no way I was letting my daughter near Haley again, let alone this supposed new family they're building. He's lost the right to call the shots after everything he's put us through. Then came the final straw. A few days ago, I got a call from CPS with an update on their investigation. They'd conducted a home visit at Devin's place, and let's just say it was a mess. They found evidence of poor living conditions and reported back to me that they had serious concerns about his ability to provide a safe environment for our daughter. CPS informed me that they'll be closing the case with a strong recommendation that he only be allowed supervised visits, if at all. I felt a wave of relief, like everything I'd fought for had finally been worth it. I knew my instincts had been right from the start. After that, I reached out to my lawyer to finalize a more permanent custody agreement, ensuring he won't have any unsupervised contact with our daughter. It's not what I initially wanted. I would have loved for her to have a father who actually cared, who wanted to be there for her. But it's clear now that Devin isn't that person, and I can't keep hoping he'll change. The safety and stability of my daughter come first, no matter how much it bothers him. So, here's where we stand now. Devin's visitation rights are limited to supervised, court-approved settings, and only if he agrees to complete the requirements CPS set forth. I'm fully prepared to fight this if he contests it, but knowing his track record, I doubt he'll go through with the process. Meanwhile, I'm moving forward with my life, focusing on giving my daughter the support and stability she deserves. It's taken a lot to get to this point, and it's been emotionally exhausting, but I feel like I finally have some closure. To everyone who's been following this whole situation and supporting me, thank you. It's been rough, but knowing there were people out there who understood kept me going when I felt completely alone. I just hope my story can be a reminder that sometimes you have to trust your instincts and fight for what's right, even when everyone else is against you. For now, my daughter and I are free of Devin's chaos, and I can finally say with certainty that she'll be safe. That's all that matters to me.